I mean, really often when we get in our business, we love our business. We want it to do well. And so we want to put all of our focus and energy, and we're like 40, 50, 60 hours in our business when we have a job already. Like, no, it's too much. You have to look at, okay, what are the aspects of this that light me up? Let me do those as much as possible. What are ways that I can like cut out, get around certain things? And then even outside of my business, what are the things that I just want to do just because I want to do, and do more of those?
Hey, my feel good friends. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but working on my mindset has been a major theme in my first year of business and my life in general. I actually hired a mindset coach to help me work through some personal and professional mindset hurdles back in March. And that journey has been so transformational for my life and business. Don't worry, I've already asked Tanny to come on the show and share her wisdom, so you can keep an eye out for that episode soon. But today I am just so ecstatic to share a really awesome conversation with a really awesome human being. Her name is Makhosi, and she's an abundance activator who teaches high achievers how to declutter themselves mentally and spiritually, so we can finally live a life that feels as good as it looks. I actually took that straight from her website. How awesome is that? I knew she would get us, and I had to bring her on the show as soon as I saw that, Feel Gooders. I actually connected with Makhosi after I listened to her recent interview on James Wedmore's podcast, Mind Your Business, and I reached out to her on Instagram to tell her how much I enjoyed what she had to say. I asked her if she would come on our show because I knew how much I was gaining from her mind-opening wisdom, and I really wanted you to hear it too. And she said yes. I mean, friends, can we just take this moment to once again appreciate what an awesome tool social media can be to really make those genuine connections with people around the world? There are so many ways that this platform can annoy me. There are so many ways that we can use social media in the wrong way, but we can choose to use it in the right way. We can use it for good. We can use it to make an impact. We can use it to make genuine connections if we so choose. And when we do, oh man, is it an amazing tool? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Today's episode has very little to do with social media. Makhosi shares so many mindset nuggets, like how we should not beat ourselves up if we're feeling unmotivated right now, and tips for calming our overwhelm and avoiding burnout. But we really don't get into Instagram too much, and I think that's okay. Her story is an inspiration. She shares so many actionable tips in other areas, and if we're honest, social media is just one tiny moving part in the giant machine that is entrepreneurship. I know that you'll find value in today's episode, and I am so excited to dive right in. Are you ready? Let's do this thing. Hey friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social Podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I'm here to help you market your business in a genuine way that works without wasting your precious time. On this show, we chat about social media strategy and mindset tips with a focus on, you guessed it, feeling good. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some genuine conversation for the good of your biz. Does social media stress you out? If you answered with a little laugh and a yup, you are not alone, my friend. I know how confusing and time-consuming and just plain overwhelming marketing your business on social media can be. So I've created a 5-step action plan that guides you through the best steps you can take to see success on social media without the overwhelm. With our free roadmap to stress-free social media, you'll learn how to quickly and easily create strategic content and prioritize what matters, so you'll know you're doing it right without wasting your time. If you'd like to download this free guide, head to feelgoodsocial.com/stress-free-social. Simply head to feelgoodsocial.com/stress-free-social, and you will be on your way to social media success without the stress. All right, let's get into the episode. Thanks so much for joining us today, lady.
All right. I'm excited to dig in with everyone. It's going to be so good.
Yes. Okay, so I already did introduce you a little bit in the intro, but I would love to hear from your own words. Who are you? What do you do? And who do you serve?
Well, I'm Makhosi, also known as the Royal Shaman, because Makhosi is kind of hard to spell. I'm an abundance activator, ascension expert, and shaman. And I work with conscious visionaries, helping them to create growth mindset, mindfulness, and master metaphysics in their life to create infinite abundance and literally unparalleled freedom.
Oh, man. And I love that. And that's exactly why I brought you onto the show. I'm so excited to hear you talk about abundance and the unparalleled freedom. Like, that's exactly what me and my audience need to hear. So I'm super excited for that. Could you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about what your journey has looked like as an entrepreneur? Because I've listened to a few interviews with you and followed you on Instagram, and your story is just so interesting. I'd love to hear it.
Well, I mean, as an entrepreneur, there's multiple facets to me, and there's been kind of multiple journeys that have been happening for me at the same time. And I just kind of follow the flow. I am a firm believer that we don't need to hustle and figure things out as much as we need to operate in flow and let things unfold. As an entrepreneur, I would say that in my life, I always had kind of a entrepreneurial bug. My very first entrepreneurial experience was selling rhubarb pies at like 8 or 9 years old in the Amish market, because I have family members who are Amish Mennonite, and I lived with them for a few years when I was a kid.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah. And so that was like my first taste of like, I can create something and put it out in the world, and people can, go home and enjoy this rhubarb pie. And then from there, it just kind of unfolded where whatever I was interested in, whatever opportunities that I was seeing in the world, I would either create something or have some offer. I've been kind of doing something since about 13-ish. Mm-hmm. I started tutoring young kids at that age, and then went into like entertaining. I was a dancer for a DJ company, doing bar and bat mitzvahs.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, random stuff. But I would say I've officially been an entrepreneur for the past 6 years. In college, I was pre-med, and I had a really difficult time getting pregnant, and I ended up having my son my senior year. And after going through all that challenge trying to get pregnant, I was like, I really just don't see myself going to med school, spending all of that time away from him. So I didn't go to med school. I ended up working at Target as a manager, and I was like, this is just not working. Like, I'm still leaving my kid every day in daycare. So I started in direct sales because it was just very accessible and very easy, and things took off for me in that company. I soared to the top 1% of that company, like within 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did that for a while, and it was nice because I did have flexibility, but I noticed that based off of where I was living, there was some challenges because it was a party plan. I had to go and do parties, and my spiritual journey was also unfolding at the same time that this was happening. And I started traveling to Africa, and it was just hard to travel for like a month, 2 months, 3 months, and then come back and essentially have to start my business over. every time I traveled.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I started, shifting into the online space.
Yeah. Wow. That is so interesting. Do you feel like you learned most of your kind of sales tactics and all of that stuff just from being a part of that company, the direct sales company, or?
I was mostly in various sales roles. I don't know if you're into human design, but I'm a manifesting generator.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could not keep a job to save my life.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I would change jobs like every 6 months to a year because I would get really bored and want to move on to something else. So I always ended up in sales. So I was selling things from like jewelry to Tempur-Pedic mattresses to cars, even at one point.
Oh, man.
And I was just picking up as much as I could. I started on my, personal development. I was studying sales, and I started taking little bits and pieces from all of those different trainings and looking at, I like to look at underlying truths.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some things that I think people were really missing in sales that I was able to hone in on. And that was what really propelled me to a lot of success in sales. And it is the more heart-centered, more feminine energy style of sales.
Yes. Oh, man. Okay. I love this because I'm fairly new to entrepreneurship. I, have been following so many awesome online entrepreneurs, and I just in the past 2-3 months hired a mindset coach to help me just through all the mindset stuff. And just a couple weeks ago, she mentioned to me offhandedly the difference between masculine and feminine sales techniques. And it was something I had never heard of before. Can you dive a little deeper into that? Maybe share some tips with us, because I'm like ready to sponge up all the knowledge about this.
Yeah. So even though I don't typically teach sales, I do, however, literally last week, I taught a workshop on essentially the energetics behind success in your business, especially if you are a woman. This is really important to know. And it's also really important if you serve women.
Yeah.
So typically the way that sales has been structured, if we just look at history for a minute, up until only a few generations ago, it was men, yeah. Masculine energy in the workplace. And even then, men were doing a lot of the major purchasing decisions. Of course, the women were the ones really behind the scenes doing it, but the men were kind of on the front. So men were teaching sales, and they were focusing on men. Well, now we have this situation where women are more present in the workplace, and also more and more, we're the ones who make the majority of the buying decisions. I haven't looked at the latest stats, so I don't want to throw out a number that's not totally accurate, but it's high. It is by far the majority. And what's happened is women, when we entered the workforce, we wanted to be equal. And so we thought that we had to, in order to fit in, just follow and be better than men at their tactics. We saw that as power.
Yeah.
But feminine energy is its own power. And I actually think it's probably more powerful because it's magnetic and more desire driven and more heart centered, more connected than most of the more masculine tactics. You do have to have both in any conversation. And so I like to look at moving in between masculine and feminine energy when you're having a conversation around enrolling someone as a client or selling a product or, writing your marketing copy. So the masculine energy is like, it's more aggressive. It's more logical and structured and analytical. It's the you've got to have a framework. You've got to have the step by step.
Yeah.
That's, I think we've all heard that somewhere. And while it's important to a degree, feminine energy typically does not care. We don't necessarily care about how a thing works. We care more about how it makes us feel and what it means, what the values are in our lives. So I like to connect people to their emotions, and being genuinely interested in getting to know someone. What are the problems that you've been having in your life? What are the challenges? And how does that make you feel? And what does that mean for your life and for your family and for your legacy? And then even going into it, allowing them to have the dream, because women tend to have goals, not just for the sake of having goals, because masculine energy is very competitive. Feminine energy is more collaborative. So when we have goals, it's usually centered around other people. It is usually centered around, I want to have a multiple six-figure business so that I can ensure my kids go to whatever school that they want to go to. So that when my mom ages, I'm able to take care of her. I'm, able to give to the charities that I care about. So understanding those differences, and it's not that one is right or that one is wrong. It's just understanding the energetics of either side and allowing yourself to kind of shape shift into whichever energy is going to serve you best at that moment.
Wow. I love this because my kind of approach to social media marketing is, I feel, more of that feminine energy where it's like being as genuine to your feelings and your audience's feelings that you can, building those authentic relationships with people, like actually getting to know people. It's more than just a screen, that sort of stuff. But yeah, I haven't really had a way to think about it or like even talk about it or phrase it like that. And I think that I'm just so excited to dive deeper into that on my own time too. Do you feel like, this just kind of popped up for me when you were talking, do you think that men are more like egocentric almost? Like they have the goals to have the image and like see that success. And then maybe women are more beyond that or like bigger picture kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I'm using the term, let me be really clear. I'm using the term men and women and also masculine and feminine. I should also be really clear that both of us have masculine and feminine energy. And also either gender can lean more into one. So I actually would say that as a woman, I'm actually more in touch with my masculine energy naturally. And so I've had to cultivate more of my feminine energy more intentionally. So I think that masculine energy people tend to be more focused on goals in an egocentric way, not as a bad thing, but it's more about personal evolution. How much can I push myself? How much can I evolve? Getting to a certain level of status, not just because, some people just want to look good, but it's also kind of a level of pride in oneself and evidence of mastery in something, etc. It is more about a stance about who I am, right? And then the feminine energy is more about who we are, right? So it's more about the community. It's more about being in service to others, etc. And there's crossover. There's not like a, hard and fast line in between the two. And we all flow through both of them. But just having the awareness of what actually might be more beneficial is where I just like to play with it instead of getting too hard and fast with labels and rules on either one.
Okay, awesome. Oh, yeah, and I'm glad that you cleared that up because for sure I was using the language in the wrong way, and I'm a language nerd. So I love that.
I mean, I've been playing with language a lot too, and of course, in this day and age, it's becoming even more important that we do that because there are so many rules that we're breaking, which I like.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, man. Oh, yes. Okay. I love this. Can you tell us a little bit about how your business like now has formed? Have you started doing what you do now and really leaned into that?
So it's been a very, very interesting evolution. It's been a lot of not me just having an idea and creating a business, but I've actually created this in response.
Mm-hmm.
And I highly suggest that most people go that route. It just saves you so much time and frustration. I attribute a lot of my fast success to just doing a lot of listening, right? Being in that feminine energy, doing a lot of listening, and then creating something in response to what people want and what they're needing. So this iteration of my business, because before I was doing direct sales and then I kind of moved into, I was doing marketing for nonprofits and small businesses. And then because I was on my spiritual journey at that time, certain things were unfolding to me at that time. And I was getting glimpses into who I was going to be serving, insight into, what I'm here for, what I'm here to do. Some of that came through really, interesting things like astrology, right? As well as my own dreams, my own guidance, divination tools, etc. So while I was on my spiritual journey and in that training, I was getting insight of, you're here to be a spiritual mentor and teacher. You're going to be working with these types of people. So when I finished and finished my graduation, I came back from South Africa and I was like, all right, so this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing now. And let's just see where it goes. And who I thought at first was going to be interested in the work that I do, I thought for the most part, like, this is going to be people in the spiritual space. This is going to be spiritual seekers. And I was wrong.
Oh, man.
The people that I tend to work with, they do have interest in the spiritual, in metaphysics, in personal development, but they actually tend to be more practical people. A lot of people into tech and the online space. And I discovered through that my gift was really taking these seemingly quote unquote woo topics and showing people how it can actually change their life in real life in very tangible, simple ways. And so my business has kind of evolved from a much more esoteric style to more of, I work with typically more pragmatic, entrepreneurs, influencers, etc. And we use my tool bag, my tool bag of insights, and we apply that to assisting them in their own transformation in business, elevation, stepping into their soul's purpose.
Mm-hmm. How did you realize, like, when did you start to realize that you were kind of targeting the wrong people, or how did that come about? Because I know that it can be a process.
I realized it when I was having to push and convince.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I knew. So in the beginning, I was essentially having to sell people on why they even needed assistance in their mindset. And back then, my offers were much lower ticket than they are now. Now I'm at the total other end. I'm a premium service now. And the way that things have shaped and the type of things that I offer. And I only work with a very select few number of people now. I essentially require them to prove to me why they're a good fit to work with me. Where before the energy was kind of flipped. And what I saw in those early stages was that in having to convince someone, when they showed up in a way where like they're doing me a favor and they're not actually implementing it in their life. So they wouldn't have the level of transformation as the people who were like, oh my gosh, this is, this is incredible. Let me take this and run with it. I've had clients who are like, please let me work with you. I need this. Those
I'll
people,
do anything.
Yeah, I will do anything. Like, you just tell me what to do and I will work with you. And those people, I mean, I had a client just this month who in our first 2 weeks, her goal was to hit 80K months. And she did like 112K in 2 weeks, and now is manifesting her dream home in a way that there's no way she was going to be able to plan for it, because she was hungry for it. I give her the little tweaks and she applies it, but I can't convince someone to apply it.
Yes. That's such an important topic, I think, in just online space and in general, is like figuring out how to charge and like how to attract the right people. Like so many, I mean, I kind of got caught up in this too in my first year of business, where it's like wanting to help everyone, or like really wanting to help those people that really aren't going to serve you very well as a client and as a customer, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you have to look at it two ways. So there's two major shifts that I made that have made all the difference. The first one was actually, I think maybe back in October. I think his name is Michael Maysden, and I was at a business conference, and I heard him say that you should create an offer that lights you up. And when I went back to the drawing board and I was like, I want to create the absolute best that I can do, and the biggest transformation that they're going to experience. And I'm going to get excited about that. And then I'm going to just match it to the people who are going to experience the best transformation and also have the desire for it. They already value it, because it's just too much energy to try and swim upstream. There's already a flow happening.
Yeah.
Right? There's already a flow. You just want to put your boat in the water where there's flow. And it's just so much easier when you do it that way. Like, I was having to teach people what a shaman even was in the early stages, which was just a waste of energy on the business side. When there's like this whole group, like people in the tech space, they love me. Already. I just show up and they're like, yeah, whatever you have. It's so cool. I want to do this level of discovery. And I think I read a story, it was on Facebook, about this father who gave his daughter a car when she graduated from high school. It was an old beat up car. And he told her to take it to 3 different places. One was a pawn shop, one was I don't remember. And then the other was an antique dealer. The pawn shop offered her just a few $100s. The antique dealer offered her thousands of dollars because they valued it. It was an old antique, right? So just go where you're valued. Go where what you do is valued and impactful for people.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it. I feel like I'm going to re-listen to this episode when it comes out and be like, okay, take notes, like all the things. Thank you for sharing. Can you tell us a little bit what it looks like to actually work with you? Because I'm so just intrigued with what that process looks like.
Oh gosh. Well, it really depends. So, I was talking about my tool bag before.
Yeah.
Because I've had so many interests and I master things very quickly, I've built a big tool bag of stuff. So when I'm working with someone one-on-one, it's a more custom experience based off of who they are, where they're trying to go. And a lot of that will be coaching around mindset and perspective. And I do a lot of work around identity. I like to work on the identity level with people.
Yeah.
So they step into and have quantum leap experiences pretty quickly by doing that. I also will pull in shamanic practice. And that can look like simple things like just cleansing your energy regularly, setting intentions, paying attention to the cycles that are naturally happening and honoring cycles. Like people really, especially entrepreneurs, really struggle with that. They really think that growth is just like linear. You're always supposed to be expanding. You're always supposed to be growing. No.
Yeah.
No. No. Shamanic teaching, AKA nature.
Yeah.
Nature shows you that actually growth happens in cycles. So we have a period of expansion, but then we start to go into a period of more introspection. And then there's like this void. And that's where people really struggle, is because it's like nothing's happening. I'm stuck. Why isn't anything happening? And actually, that's when most of the growth happens if you let it, if you sit in it. So a lot of the work that I do with people is helping them to get comfortable with doing nothing, with like actually sitting still, actually getting present, actually feeling and being in their body and allowing themselves to enjoy life and being. And that gives them the fuel for when they come on the other side and then they're back in growth phase. Now they've built up the energy to catalyze that growth and explode.
Yeah. When you're working with people and with yourself and everything, and you see these cycles happening, is there any specific timeline that you see kind of the patterns happening, or can it just depend?
It totally depends.
Yeah.
And a lot of it depends on how quickly you're willing to allow it to happen. So most people, because they've never allowed it to happen, it's like they just, like I have one client who he was like, I was just stuck for 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at the same level, plateaued in his business, very successful business owner, but plateaued and could never get past a certain ceiling. And because he wasn't willing to just let go of control, surrender to the process. That's where the stuckness happens. And I know you're laughing because this is so common in our space.
I'm like over here like, okay, gotta let go. Like it's hard.
It sounds so familiar.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's going to laugh because we've all done this at some point or another, but it actually gets shorter and shorter and shorter the more that you practice surrendering. Cough, cough. That's a feminine energy trait. Surrender.
Oh, man.
Flow. Letting go. So I do have some practices I take people through to allow them to pay attention to where the energy is flowing. Your body, not your mind, is going to tell you, because your body is in sync with the natural rhythms, with the moon, with how things just naturally flow. We all have our own cycles. There's seasonal cycles. There's moon cycles, and all of them are affecting us. If you think that they're not, well, you're just going to keep staying stuck.
You're going to stay stuck, man. Gotta embrace it.
Just embrace it. Like, we are energetic beings, and there's just certain laws of nature that if you just roll with them, things become so much easier and you don't have to do as much. Like, most people could probably be doing 75% less and experience more.
I know. It's so funny hearing you say these things. Do you think it's like definitely, I mean, I probably already know the answer to this, but it's a practice, right? Like, we're not going to get there overnight.
No, it has to become a practice, and using your consciousness is so important here. Being self-aware of, okay, this morning, I don't feel like doing anything. Let me give you a real life example.
Yeah.
Saturday, I had planned to go riding bikes with my husband, and it sounded really good. The weather was going to be great. We don't have our son right now. He's with my mom. Like, it was going to be great. In my mind, made total sense. But then I wake up and I cooked breakfast, and I just gave myself a moment to ask myself, where's my energy flowing? Like, what's lighting me up right now?
Mm-hmm.
And riding a bike was not on that list anywhere. I had no desire to do anything. And so instead of letting the judgment voice in my head say, but you need to exercise, but you need to spend time with your husband, but you should be more fit and active and da 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 da, and force myself to go do it and then be miserable in the process, which then creates even more issues in the body because now it's becoming an elevated emotional experience, aka mini trauma in the body.
Yeah.
I told my husband, I really, honestly, I don't feel like going to do anything today. I really just would like to sit here on the couch with you, and watch something on Netflix. And he honored it. So most of the time, it's us in our own head, judging ourselves, creating resistance. I should. Almost any time that you're saying I should, that means you should not.
That's a good trick. Did I use the word should? Okay, let's rethink this real quick.
Yep.
I would love to ask you just a little bit, because it's been an interesting journey for me as an entrepreneur, kind of teaching my friends and family and my boyfriend, the life of entrepreneurship. Can you tell us just a little bit about your and your husband's relationship, if you don't mind? Like, has it been kind of or is he an entrepreneur as well?
He is a more recent entrepreneur. So
okay.
He recently started his business. It's been a little over a year, but now is when he's actually allowing it to kind of take off. So there definitely have been hurdles and misunderstandings about how things work. I think there's a lot of it that we just have to be really mindful of the mindset of an employee versus an entrepreneur, and understand that most people are going to have an employee mindset, and that's okay. You don't have to put a lot of energy into like convincing people that what you're doing is valid, that you need blankety blank, blank, blank. So my advice here is to, as much as possible, be really mindful of that, of their perspectives, of their beliefs, and you don't need to create friction there. The only time that you really need to do that is, especially if it's in your home or there's something related to your business, communication, and doing it from a place not of it's all about me, but tying it back to your vision as a partnership, a family, a community, what it means in the big picture. And that helps people relate and understand why you're doing things more. And it offers them the opportunity to be more supportive.
Yeah. That was so great. I was like, I'm just thinking about all these conversations that I've been having and how helpful it is to, especially like as an entrepreneur, you get so caught up in the emotional side of it, and you feel like you're giving all the time. And so when you have these conversations with people, sometimes it's hard to like take a breath and step back and see that bigger picture again.
Yeah, I think too, so often, especially with our partners, those are the people that we want to just like tell everything to and dump everything on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on some level, yes, you want to share your wins, you want to share your excitement, you want to share maybe some of your challenges because you want support, etc. But entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be really draining to other people if you are literally bringing them on for every wave. Like you're going to make them nauseous.
Yeah.
Doing that.
That's such a great
They're going to be like, wait, what?
analogy. Yeah.
What is this?
I didn't ask to come on this ride, okay?
Because to most people, they would be like, why would you even want to do this? What are you doing this for? You could just have a job and then everything just kind of coast.
Yeah.
And so just being mindful of that. I don't share every single drop with my husband because I can have a drop like in 5 minutes and then be on a high in 10.
Yeah.
So it's really important. I like to have people for all different aspects of my life. I don't believe that one person should be your end all and be all. I don't want to be anybody's end all and be all either. So I encourage even my husband, like have a support system, have a community, have a mastermind, have select people that you share certain things with that can relate on a real level of understanding. They need to be on the same reality, the same frequency that you're at, so that you can receive that support and give that support in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it did not take me very long to realize that my boyfriend did not want to hear about social media 24/7. And so definitely I've been just joining Facebook groups and all that stuff. And it's been so helpful. I was reading one of your blog posts about kind of motivation during these uncertain times that have been 2020. And I know that so many of my listeners have been struggling with the overwhelm that comes with the uncertainty we've been dealing with, and also like staying motivated. Could you share a few tips with us about that, how to deal with all of it?
Yeah. So kind of back to human design, I do know that most people actually are not able to access motivation at will. So you have to learn, number one, like I was saying before, that you don't have to.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Okay. So that's the first tip is if you are saying I have to instead of I get to, or I'm excited to, or I desire to, that could be a sign that what you're doing isn't really in alignment. And so step two, tip two, also getting really creative and dynamic about how you're doing things. Most of the time we're doing things that are not even necessary. Like 9 out of 10 things that we do as entrepreneurs is not even required or necessary.
Yeah. Okay.
So, taking stuff off of your plate as much as possible. And really, third tip, getting in touch with what lights you up. So, really often when we get in our business, we love our business. We want it to do well. And so we want to put all of our focus and energy, and we're like 40, 50, 60 hours in our business when we have a job already. Like, no, it's too much. You have to look at, okay, what are the aspects of this that light me up? Let me do those as much as possible. What are ways that I can cut out, get around certain things? And then even outside of my business, what are the things that I just want to do just because I want to do, and do more of those? So for me, it's dancing in the morning or when I'm cooking or whatever.
Yeah.
It's allowing myself to, you know what, I could be working, but dancing right now is going to give me more energy. Your energy you want it to be giving you energy, and you'll be able to go further. Also, really making time to just be. So a lot of times when we're not feeling motivation, that's because our soul is saying, hey, we need to tell you something. we need you to have a certain realization, come to a certain understanding. It requires stillness. It requires space. It requires peace. If you don't have days where you are doing bare minimum, like maybe you shower and you eat, I encourage you to, if you can't find a full day, at least find pockets of time where you're doing less. I know it's not sexy, like scribble a list and da 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 da, but really doing less ends up creating more in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another tough one for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I feel like we're always just go, go, go. Next thing, one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a day back in March when I literally hit the burnout like bottom, where it was like my body was like, stop. And I just laid in bed for an hour. I didn't even take a nap. I played like some mindless spider solitaire or something on my phone. And I was like, felt immediately able to do more again, like after that hour. And I'm sure that a full day was probably necessary after that too. But
yeah. And here's the thing is like when you're being more mindful about it and catching it really fast, you'll be able to get your mojo back even faster. So because I was aware on Saturday, I was like, oh, my energy is kind of off. I've had a busy 2 weeks. I was traveling and had interviews and yada, yada. And so I took Saturday. And then even yesterday, I told my husband, I was like, I think I also need just time for myself in my cave, which is my bedroom. And, and I just sat there with a notebook. I did laundry and just I just was for the day. And then towards the end of the day, I started to feel this buildup of, okay, I'm excited to get back into what I need to do.
Yeah.
And so it can turn around really fast, but if you don't catch it, I've seen people get in burnout and takes them months to recover because they just didn't listen.
Yeah. Oh man, that was so helpful. Thank you so much for all of this. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with my audience?
Absolutely. A lot of the topics that we talked about really require you to be self-aware and conscious, right? So I'm using those kind of interchangeably. So I do have a quiz that will help you to identify the level of consciousness that you are at and how you can step into the next stage, the next level, become more self-aware and be more empowered to make those changes in your life. So they can take that quiz. And then you'll also be able to access a custom bonus activation, which will help you to go to the next level. And I can send that link over to you if you'd like.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'll include it in the show notes and everything like that. I'm excited to take that quiz. I did not see it yet, so I'm going to be going over there and hopping on that. Can you please share with my lovely listeners where they can find out more about you and connect with you? Because I know they're going to want to.
Sure. So I am the Royal Shaman basically everywhere except Twitter. But you can find me. My website's theroyalshaman.com. I'm on Instagram at The Royal Shaman. And I also have a YouTube channel where I put out videos every week. And that's at The Royal Shaman too.
Amazing. Okay. Well, that's so awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I so loved our conversation and I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
How wonderful was Makhosi? You seriously need to go take her quiz about self-awareness, which I did link down in the show notes. Check it out. I took this quiz this morning and my result was called the channel, which I'll be honest, I really don't know what that means. But her explanation of where I'm at in my journey and how I'm feeling right now that came with it was so spot on. It was like she was reading my mind or something. And it came with a 4-minute meditation practice personalized for where I'm at in my journey. So I'm about to try that out after I finish this recording. Definitely check out the quiz and hit both me and Makhosi up on Instagram to let us know what result you got. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would absolutely love for you to share it to your Instagram stories and make sure you tag me at FeelGoodSocial so I can see, celebrate, and share the love right back to you. I hope that you have a wonderful week, my Feel Good friends, and I will catch you next Thursday. Thanks so much for listening, my friend. For show notes and a whole lot of other awesome freebies, visit feelgoodsocial.com. Simply go to feelgoodsocial.com for all the goods.